You're listening to The Reclaimed Life, a podcast about recognizing manipulation, reclaiming your voice, and rebuilding a life that actually feels like your own. I'm Rachel Paxton, an author, ordained chaplain, and certified mental health coach. And each week, I'll explore the patterns, dynamics, and turning points that help people rediscover who they truly are. There's a kind of exhaustion that comes from constantly looking outside yourself for reassurance, replaying conversations, searching for validation, waiting for someone else to confirm what you already feel or know deep down. And over time, many people slowly lose trust in their own inner clarity without ever even realizing it. So today I want to talk about what it looks like to reconnect with yourself and God again, and why healing sometimes begins when you stop abandoning yourself in order to stay connected to everyone else. There comes a point in healing where many people begin noticing how much of their life has been shaped by external validation, not just encouragement, not just guidance, but the constant need for reassurance before trusting what they already feel, sense, notice, or know. Many people become so used to looking outside themselves for answers that they slowly lose connection to both their own discernment and God's voice within them. They begin monitoring reactions instead of listening for peace. They learn to overexplain themselves, second guess themselves, wait for approval, look to other people to tell them what is true before allowing themselves to trust what keeps quietly rising inside them. This can happen in relationships, families, church environments, friendships. Any place where connection slowly becomes tied to approval, performance, or staying emotionally aligned with someone else's expectations. Over time, people can become disconnected from themselves without even realizing it, not because they're weak, but because survival sometimes teaches people to stay externally focused, to scan moods, to avoid conflict, to seek reassurance, to prioritize harmony over honesty. And eventually they stop asking, what do I actually feel God showing me? Because they become more focused on, what will everyone else think about this? But healing often involves learning how to reconnect, not only to yourself, but to God in a quieter, more honest way too. Not through striving harder, not through becoming rebellious or self focused, but through learning how to recognize what clarity, peace, discernment, and conviction actually feel like again beneath all the noise. For many people, this process feels unfamiliar at first, especially if they were taught that trusting themselves was dangerous, that questioning confusion was rebellion, or that peace only existed when everyone else approved of them. But discernment is not the same thing as selfishness, and reconnecting to yourself is not the same thing as abandoning God. Sometimes it's actually the beginning of becoming honest enough to hear Him more clearly, because God's voice often brings clarity, not chronic confusion, not constant fear, not endless emotional chaos. And while none of us hear perfectly, many people eventually begin noticing the difference between fear and discernment, pressure and conviction, performance and peace, external control and genuine wisdom. Sometimes healing begins when you stop asking, will everyone else validate this? And start quietly asking, what keeps becoming clear when the noise settles down? That question can feel uncomfortable in the beginning, especially for people who built their identity around maintaining connection, keeping peace, or earning approval. But over time, many people begin realizing something important. You do not have to abandon yourself in order to stay connected to God, and you do not have to silence your own discernment in order to remain loved. Thank you for listening to The Reclaimed Life. If something in this episode resonated with you, you're not alone. Many people are beginning to recognize unhealthy patterns in relationships, systems, and environments, and discovering that reclaiming their voice is possible. In future episodes, I'll explore topics like recognizing manipulation, understanding narcissistic dynamics, rebuilding self trust, and learning how to create a life that actually feels like your own. If you'd like to explore more of these ideas, you can visit my website at thereclaimedlifepodcast.com, where I share additional writing, resources, and future episodes of the show. Until next time, take a moment to listen to your intuition, trust what you're beginning to see, and remember that reclaiming your life often begins with one honest question. This is the Reclaimed Life.